In part six of Confessions of a Collection Agency Lawyer, former collection agency lawyer Mark Silverthorn shares stories about his 12 years working as a collection agency lawyer.
During the 12 years that you worked as a collection agency lawyer, what is the worst thing that you have been called by a debtor?
I distinctly remember speaking with one gentleman, and he was very agitated. And I'm not sure if it was if he owed the money or if it was a friend or family member. But he called me a pawn scum, and for some reason that stuck with me. Now I've got two ex-wives, so I've been called a lot of names, but I've been never, ever been called pawn scum. I'm not even sure what pawn scum is.
What can you tell us about training for new collectors at collection agencies?
It's very common for large national collection agencies to have a 1 or 2 week program for individuals who have been hired and they've never been a collector before. So this is a collector program for new trainees. And so typically these training programs will start out on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. And I can remember this one particular week where I was speaking with some of the staff at the collection agency, and there were some people, some of the new trainees for the collector position had come in Monday morning, and they never returned that morning after the morning coffee break. So, this position of being a collector, it certainly wasn't for everyone.
Can you describe working at a collection agency in one word?
I can recall speaking with the collections manager at a national collection agency, and he described himself as running a plantation. Now, I'm not exactly sure what he meant, whether, the working conditions weren't very good. But it struck me as odd that he would say that.
How would you describe your relationship with individuals you worked with during your time as a collection agency lawyer?
Well, I would say it was a, professional relationship. Over the years, I would have, made friends with some of the individuals that I would have dealt with, and several years after I was no longer a collection agency lawyer, I was invited to the wedding of one of my former colleagues who I had known from working at a particular collection agency.
In what countries did you collect monies from consumers?
Well, I was called to the bar in the province of Ontario. So initially, I was collecting monies from the residents of Canada. At some point, I successfully wrote the New York State Bar, and after that, I was able to collect monies from the residents of the United States.
Why did you write the New York State Bar exam?
I had one collection agency client that was operating in Canada, and it had wanted to expand into the United States, and they would like to be able to have lawyers' letters sent out to U.S. residents, and they would like to be able to accept credit card payments on behalf of their creditor clients. And so if I were to successfully write the New York State Bar exam, this would enable them to indirectly have me send out lawyers' letters to U.S. residents and to accept credit card payments from debtors in the United States.
Is it true that you failed the New York State Bar exam?
It is true that on my first attempt to write the New York State Bar exam that I narrowly failed. You have to appreciate that when you're writing the New York State Bar exam, you are responsible for 10,000 rules of law. I wrote the New York State Bar exam a second time, and on my second attempt, I was successful. one of the things, they'd have a ceremony for the people who had passed the New York State bar exam. So you'd go to this ceremony and they'd have all the people there who had passed, and probably 95% of them would have been Americans, but there'd be a few people from Canada and other countries. So regardless of what citizenship you were, we were all asked to stand, and out loud we had to say the oath of allegiance to the United States. So that was kind of a surreal experience there in Albany, New York.
Is it true that you accepted credit card payments from debtors on behalf of creditors?
Collection, it's very difficult, if not impossible, for a collection agency to be able to accept credit card payments from debtors on behalf of their clients. And the reason is that the credit card companies are concerned that if debtors are paying off their debts using a credit card, then the credit card company is going to lose this game of musical chairs and end up being stiffed, so that these debtors are going to default on making payments to the credit card companies. So if a collection agency applies for merchant status so that it can accept credit card payments, then the credit card companies will refuse their application. So one of the collection agencies that I worked for encouraged me to apply for merchant status. And when I obtained it, when I sent out demand letters on my lawyer's letterhead, then one of the payment options I provided to consumers was to make a credit card payment. And this was very popular. And at one point, I was not only accepting credit card payments on behalf of a collection agency, from Canadians, but once I got called to the New York State Bar, I was also accepting credit card payments from the residents of the United States. I did collection work on behalf of collection agencies between 1994 and 2006. During this period, I would have accepted payments from debtors literally in the millions of dollars.
Are the rumors that you slept at your office one summer true?
Who told you that? Yes, it is true. I lived in Guelph, which is about a 90-minute Greyhound ride, or a car, ride in the car from Guelph to downtown Toronto, where my office was. And each summer, my second wife would take the kids to Europe to visit her parents. And so for June and July, I would be commuting from Toronto to an empty house in Guelph. So one summer I thought, well, why don't I just stay in Toronto for 2 months and maybe go home one weekend each month. And I found it was just incredibly expensive to find a place to stay for 2 months. So I thought, well, is there any chance I could sleep in my office? So what I did is I took 2 tall lateral size filing cabinets. My office was rectangular. And so what I essentially did is I created a false wall using these 2 large filing cabinets. And so at the back, in behind these 2 lateral filing cabinets, there was a gap of about 2 feet. And so it would be, 2 feet wide and about 10 feet long. And so I was able to put a sleeping bag there, and that's where I would sleep at night. And the office was in an office tower down on Bloor Street near Bay. And there was a health club on the second floor that I was a member. And so in the mornings, I would just go to the health club and have a shower. And so that went on for a couple of months, one summer.
What are you doing now?
Today, I am the founder of a firm called Debt Coach Silverthorne. The mantra for Debt Coach Silverthorne is empowering Canadians struggling with debt. Our firm has a website, debtcoachsilverthorne.ca. If a person were to visit this website, they would see all kinds of articles, helpful articles. There's all kinds of YouTube videos. In addition, I offer 30-minute telephone consultations where a person can get one-on-one coaching. So I would certainly invite people to visit the firm's website.